So check back the top right. I call the flop. It's another interesting spot. Bottom left, I flat a 3-bet, and I'm going to float this flop. So on the top left, he leads twice after I check back. I think that, again, I'm fairly close to the top of my range. I think he probably has a pretty decent bluff frequency here. And I don't think he bets too thin for value. Like, I don't think he bets like a Jack 8 here twice for value. Although I could be wrong. I don't think it'd be bad to bet Jack 8 here for value twice. I think, in fact, he probably should. I'm not sure if he does. So I timed out there on the river when I was acting on the bottom left. I think I would have called there if I did think about that though. So bottom left, he c-bets and checks the turn. I think this is a turn where I rep better than him when he c-bets and checks. It hits my flatting range, and then the turn hits my flop flatting range even more. So I like betting here. Also, I don't really have much showdown value. I have a little bit, and I have some equity. So I do like betting the turn here, but I'd probably shut down rivers because the stacks aren't going to be very good for bluffing. And I think when he check calls a turn, he could have some ace-queen type hands that 3-bet, c-bet, and then call the turn, expecting me to have some draws. But I think the majority of his air hands just fold the turn, and the majority of his bluff catches or value hands that he checks the turn with will call the river. 10x combos are really the only ones that I could fold on the river. So I'll river some showdown value against that 10x. So it's a pretty easy check. And we see he checks kings on the turn, which I think is fine, given how crushed he had the board and how I just explained how I would like to bluff there. So I think it's a good check. So you notice me folding more buttons as we get shorter, just because it's opening a wide range against a good player is so easy to exploit at shorter stacks. So bottom left, I'll quickly go forward a little bit. So bottom left, I decided to check. I think again this is having a focus on playing my ranges, not my hand. I think here I'm going to have a lot of 5x, a lot of 6x, maybe some small pairs, king highs, stuff that I want to get to showdown, stuff that I don't want to bet with. So again, I think of how I want to play those hands, and then I play my value hands in the same way. And also, I don't really have many bluffs here. Most of my hands are showdown hands. So I like checking here to protect my checking range. And also, I don't see him really calling a river bet very much anyway. So top right is interesting. He check raises. Again, it's like, it's a spot where my hand's equity is obviously really bad. My chance of improving. But then again, in this spot, all of my hands kind of suck, apart from Queen Jack, King Queen. It's a spot where I don't think he should. I don't know. It's an interesting spot leveling wise. I don't expect him to check raise his board a lot because he doesn't rep a lot, but I can't really play back a lot of the time, so he might check raise it a lot. Interesting spot. I just decided to fold. Just because I don't want to get too carried away with making crazy plays without really knowing if he's check raising these boards a lot. Because I would assume that the average reg wouldn't, although he's definitely more aggressive than the average reg in a lot of spots. Standard min-raise call with ace king for, I think it was 24 big blinds on the top left. So I think we stopped loading games here and just played these two out. 6-4 suited, you could go either way between 3-betting and flatting. I think I'll probably flat. No, I do 3-bet. I think either is fine. He 4-bet shoves. I think he probably has a small pocket pair there, but can't really do anything about that. So I see about the top table. I'm planning on barreling a lot. I think he's gonna have a lot of Queen X and King X when he check calls the flop that will fold to future streets of bets. So bottom left is an interesting hand. So I check back the flop. He leads the turn. I have ace high and a gut shot, and I think he could lead with a lot of bluffs. So I call, and I believe he checks the river. Top right, I think that turn is just really bad. I'm not going to be able to really bluff very much out, and a lot of his hands improve. So he checks, and I value bet. I think this is a spot where he probably thinks I do have ace high a lot. So I think that he's probably not going to bluff this river too much, but I think he's also competent enough. I think that if I don't think he expects me to call down here with a 10 or a 3 or pocket 5s. So I think that he probably check raises the river with his strong value hands like flushes or straights. I think if he had 4-5, he'd probably check raise that for value, even though he has seen me check back flush draws. So I do value bet, but it's potential. I think that I probably shouldn't. I think I should check back the river, because I don't think he's going to check call me with much worse. I think that maybe he could check call me with like a queen, leading the turn, and then thinking I call the turn with a lot of 1 spade hands. But I think that a river check back, I think betting the river opens me up to check raises a lot, and I do know that river check raising and check raising in general is a pretty big part of his game. I could be results orientated because he check raised the river, but I don't think I am. I think I'm being pretty objective here. So he does check raise. He can have a lot of credible value combos here. So I do fold. So I 4-bet with 7-4 off, which I don't really like. I think that as stacks get shorter, he probably 3-bets non all in a bit less. And I think that if I'm going to 4-bet, there's just a lot better hands to do it with than 7-4. I could pick like basically any ace X or king X hand and have some blockers which would do a bit better. And also if I start 4-betting with 7-3 and stuff, my frequencies can get out of whack pretty easily. So I think he's definitely capable of 3-betting as a bluff on the bottom left enough. So when this flop does come on the top left, I think he never has any ace X unless it's pocket aces. So I think I can see about this flop with impunity. And he also just has like so many, like he can have the occasional like pocket kings or queens or aces, but he mostly just has like king queen type like connected hands, and he's gonna fold them to a c-bet. So I do flat on the bottom left. I think he's capable of bluffing. I think the stacks are just deep enough, and Jack 9 plays really well. So he c-bets, and I shove as a bluff. Well, not as a bluff, sorry. I shove to rep draws. I think it is a spot where he will put me on a lot of draws when I shove this flop, and I think he'll bet call light because of it. I think he'll bet call his ace highs. I think he'll bet call 8x. He actually ends up bet calling king queen, which I mean, I guess he just didn't think that I do shove hands like this, which I definitely do to balance. I do shove my bluffs, my draws, of course, but I do balance it pretty well, I think. So top right, I make a pretty big mistake in this hand. So it's like the exact same board as before, and I even have like, yeah, this is like pretty much the exact same hand, except a fraction deeper. So I check call the flop, I check call the turn again because I think he can bet a lot of those draws. And he could, I guess he could bet some mergy hands that I beat, some like king 2 hands or something. And again, I could check raise some rivers. So he bets big on the river here. Standard hand on the bottom left, by the way. I think at like 10 bigs, I'm probably not going to induce much with a min raise, and it's going to allow him to flat a lot of hands that play really well against ace jack. So pretty standard open shove. So on the top left, I make a big mistake and check shove. I think again, as I said, he's been using exploitative bet sizes, so I think that his bet here is really strong. I think my hand looks like a queen or a 4. So I think that he's firstly not going to bluff very much, and secondly, when he bets this sizing, I think that it's a strong. It's probably a 4, not even a queen. I think he'd bet a queen smaller. So I check shove into like just a really strong range. I think my check shove looks really strong, but it's just not really a spot where I'm gonna have any fold equity. That said, if he did bet something like less than 360, I would like check shoving. That was my plan, and I still like that because I think he's going to bet a queen, and I can check shove all my 4 combos in this spot, and I think it puts him in a really tough spot. And also, there's very little bluffs I can have when I check call twice and then check shove the river. Like, I need to be turning showdown value into a bluff. So he just bet snaps me with jack 4, which is obviously standard. He played that pretty well. It's kind of hard to play it bad, I guess, as long as you bet 3 straights. So the bottom left, it's kind of a similar spot to before, but we're a little bit shorter, and our hand, I think, plays a fraction worse. So I did decide to fold. I think it's close though, and an argument could be made for flatting. I mean, we're getting really good odds and we're in position. So we just finished off this last game here. 10-8 suited, pretty standard flat, out of position. Again on this board, our equity's not too good. We could at least have a backdoor flush draw, and we don't really rep a lot with the check raise. I think we're going to get dicked with a lot. So here I planned on 4-bet shoving against a non-all-in 3-bet. I think we actually get value from some of his like queen jack, king queen hands, and I think he's also going to 3-bet non-all-in and fold to a shove a decent amount. King 2, it seems as though he's tightening up. He's opening less than 60% at less than 30 stacks. So King 2 could potentially be a fold pre-flop. On this flop here, I do decide to check fold because I think on an ace-high board at less than 25 stacks, he can just barrel with impunity, and I think he will. And I'm just not going to be able to get to showdown with King 2, like ever. He can also bet really wide for value, because I just like very rarely have an ace in that spot. So I do under c-bet a little bit here, and then he check raises. I thought about 3-betting again, and I was kind of just put off by that ace-2 hand where he check raised with the bottom pair on a very similar board. It was 10-5-2 with 2 to a suit. This hand here is kind of silly. So I flat king 2 out of position again, which is debatable. So here in the turn, I think I should be leading and betting rivers. I think when he checks back here, I think he doesn't have. I think he could have the like occasional monster hand like pocket 8s or 7-8 or something like that. But I think for the most part, he bets all of his 8x, 7x on the flop, all of his over pairs. And when he checks, I think he has probably maybe under pairs sometimes, even though I think he bets those a lot, or ace high, king high hands that beat me, but I do think I can fold them with 2 streets of bets. I think here he has queen x so infrequently, it would have to be just a random check back, so that I think I could bet 8x for value, and I could also obviously bet a queen, a 7, an overpair if I flatted a pre. I just have the stronger range in this spot, and I also think that my king high has deceptively little showdown value, if that makes sense. It looks like it has showdown value, but really against his range, I think it doesn't. But I didn't bet the turn, and then I tried to bet the river. I think this doesn't really rep anything because he should expect me to lead the turn with all my value hands. So I think this river bet is bad. I expect him to call this pretty light. So I think my river bet's bad, but I think I should have bet the turn. And he does shot with 10-8 here, which is really weird given how much he c-bets and everything that he checks back on this board. Especially because this is a board where I think just c-betting like 95 to 100% is just going to be fine. Obviously a standard shove here with the 9s. Minro's calling the jack 10. He's going to shove a lot of worse hands. And I'm just easily going to have odds to call once I min-raise. So here I shove over his limp. We have no limping dynamic. It looks like he's limped probably one time overall. I think that for his limp trap range, I think he probably only has jacks plus. I don't think we have the history, and I just expect that most regs don't limp trap non-premium hands, non-premium pairs. And I did run the math, and he only needs about 9% of limp folding hands, which I think is obviously a fairly reasonable percentage for him to be limping. We haven't got a sample at short stacks yet, so I don't really know if he limps a lot, but I just expect him to be limp folding more than that, and I think that his limp trap range is only jacks plus. But he does snap me off with queens. So I am going to end the video there. I think that it was good to play against him. He was definitely a tough player. There's a lot of interesting spots in this video. If you have any comments on anything, my video making style, or any hands, because this is my first video, I'd like you to post them in the comments and I will address all of those questions. Thanks for watching.